Welcome to the Leafy podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow.
Let's start the show. Hey everybody, it's Leafy Podcast, and you're here with Brian and Jennifer. Tammy couldn't be with us today, but we do have a very incredible serial entrepreneur and successful real estate agent today. She's got a background in everything that's super cool. International travel, entertainment management, interior design, life coaching, and real estate. So here we're going to talk to her today about staging, because she is a luxury estate agent that has a coaching program for real estate agents, and talk to her about the market where she's from in the Miami area. So let's give it up for Jane Bond. Hey, Jane.
Hey guys, how are you? Hey Brian, hey Leafy.
Hey.
I love Leafy.
I'm Jennifer, it just says Leafy.
Oh, I know, but I love Leafy. Hi Jennifer.
Hey.
We're very leafy here. So doing great. So yeah, welcome to the call, Jane, and I appreciate you being on, taking some time out of your busy schedule. As you mentioned, you're a high-end real estate, and so a lot of people want to get into real estate, and especially high-end. And just curious on how did you get involved with high-end real estate, and what was kind of your little bit of your history and how you came to get into this kind of a market.
Well, my background is actually in interior design and entertainment management, and I was a flight attendant early on after college. And becoming a flight attendant taught me a lot about people. I was what they call, I was in first class most of the time. So I was the first flight attendant on most of my flights, and they were mostly international flights. So I ran into people from all walks of life. And my job as a flight attendant, as a first flight attendant, was to prepare first class and then go to the back to handle the coach section, which might have been 200, 300, 400 people at the time. And then up front, we had maybe 35, 36 people back in those days. Not ancient times, but back in those days. I won't give it away.
Right.
But, it was amazing flying during that time and working first class and the coach section. So I met a lot of very interesting people at that time in my life. And I was still pretty young, fresh out of school, and understanding people from all walks of life with different accents really kind of opened my eyes to the world somewhat. When I decided to leave the airlines, I became an interior designer, not knowing anything about interior design, but flying around the world, seeing beautiful things and learning about architecture and quality versus quantity opened my eyes even further. So from that, I went into interior design, and I was very lucky with interior design because one of my first clients was a professional football player from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
how lucky is that, right?
Yeah.
Most people, their first client is like their Aunt Eleanor, and can you redo the day room? And then, she wants it all in plaid, So man, that would be so awesome because you have a budget. And that's really what most struggling interior designers deal with is they get projects, but the people have champagne taste and they've got like a Coca-Cola budget, and then they've been watching HGTV and they expect
I don't think we had that then.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway.
So you weren't expected to pull off a miracle, with some straws. Okay, good.
It was interesting because I kind of planted that seed there, because when I was leaving the airlines, I realized I needed to find that customer. So, maybe that was my financial background, with management. I knew I had to target that customer in order to be able to sit my behind in that first class seat after I left. So at that time, we were chartering flights for football players. And I decided to take one of the charters, asked, can I be on one of the charters? And I did get the flight. And that flight was, I believe it was the Cleveland Browns and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Or I'm not sure, it might have been the Tampa Bay already played Chicago Bears, but I know I was really sick and I struck up a conversation with one of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he said to me that I was really sick that day and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I told him I was going to leave and go into interior design. Of course, I knew nothing about interior design. Like I said, I had no degree in interior design. But I knew I could do it. And he said, you know, maybe today is your lucky day. I just bought a house. Whether that was to have a conversation with me, whether he was attracted to me or not, that's how I got started. And from there, it was history. He told a friend, another friend, another friend. And before I knew it, I was just servicing a lot of pro athletes, dignitaries, judges, lawyers, and that was my clientele base. And
That
I
is such a
actually,
great
yeah,
Cinderella story. Like, really. I mean, that's what you want to hear is you're sick, you don't want to do it, but you put in the effort. It's your job. You need the money. You're on the flight, but you're still thinking to yourself, how
hard.
do I move ahead? What are my goals in life? How am I going to do this goal? And then you least expect it, expect it.
Right.
I
And
love
I,
that.
like I said, it was definitely luck and wanting to do something different and putting my mind to it and understanding that I needed the clientele that had disposable income. And that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so then how did you transition from being an interior designer into real estate?
Well, actually, I transitioned into entertainment management
Ah,
prior to becoming a real estate agent. And working with some of the football players, I met one of the football players' wives, and they asked me if I knew anything about entertainment, and I said no. And she said to me, frankly, it's all the same shit, Jane. It's business, baby. And I said, okay. Light bulb came on. I said, yeah. She said, would you mind doing some work for me? And I said, yes. And I went into entertainment management with my eyes wide open, loved every minute of it, repped quite a few well-known people, like Nigel Barker from America's Next Top Model, the Brand New Heavies, Franklin Smith from Law and Order, and actually one of my colleagues who's a real estate agent now too. And she was an amazing singer at the time, but she ran into some issues and became a real estate agent. So that's interesting.
wow.
Yeah. So I got married and I came to Naples and the world was crashing all around us, you know. It was 2008.
Oh, yeah.
There was no business going on anywhere, no commercials, no music. People were really packing it in and losing money. And I came to Naples, and the same thing in Naples. The real estate market was hit hard. And again, I had the idea of what goes down must come up.
Right.
Let's go into real estate, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Capture this while it's happening. And that's how I got into real estate. And that was in 2010.
Oh, okay.
Well, that is just incredible. I was looking at your Instagram, your IG, and you had this great video, and you were in Miami, and I forget Bayou Drive, I think it was, but you can see it. Just go to our IG. We'll have all the links after the show. And it was like a $4 or $5 million property right on the water. I mean, it was absolutely a stunner. And I thought, how fun is that to get to just even go around those properties all the time, being out and about and looking at them. But with your eye for design too, do you also do the staging when you get a big listing? Is that part of the package that you bring?
I don't do the staging, but I do bring the idea of understanding space and knowing what fits in there properly and guiding the customer through that. If they do bring on a stager or interior designer, I do work with them.
Good.
Like I have a couple projects that are coming up now. I will be working with the stager and the interior designer. So I definitely have an advantage when it comes to that because when I walk into a home, selling it or having it redesigned with a customer or working with that interior designer, I have a good eye for the bones of the property.
Okay.
Right. Because that's difficult because we don't, I mean, you hear about staging, but it seems like it's something that really only luxury properties can do. But really that's not true. Even if you're doing a flip or you're just have a really great single family home rental, staging is actually pretty important. How would you state that interior design relates to staging for both agents or people who are investors getting that house to flip in your mind?
Well, interior design and real estate are synonymous. We need each other. I mean, it's not like you buy a property and you leave it empty. A lot of people, as a former interior designer, a lot of people can't visualize what a property looks like without furniture. That, women go in and they go, oh my God, I love this, but how will my sofa fit in that space? And some spaces are complicated. So it takes a designer or a stager to come and understand the space. Just as I said to you, when you walk in the house, you understand the bones of the home. So if you don't have a good eye, and most people don't, that's where it comes into play. And not only that, it has changed in the past, I would say 5 years. It wasn't like this. You could walk in a house and buy that house empty, and a lot of people did. I mean, if you think back in retrospect, that's what we did. We didn't go in a house and the house was furnished.
Absolutely.
But in my market, where there is a lot of luxury property and property that start at $200,000 and $300,000, which with respect, that is still a luxury property to a lot of people, because like I said, my market has such high-end property. Sometimes real estate agents, including myself, I have been guilty of it. I don't look at certain price point as luxury properties because of my market. Depending on your market, that could be considered a luxury property. And yeah, absolutely. I didn't grow up in a $100,000 any dollar house. So I have great respect for the dollar amount of money people spend on their homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And oh, no worries. So when it comes to staging a house, do you kind of see like a different price you could get for the house, so versus someone that doesn't do it? What kind of I guess what I'm trying to say is, what kind of increase in maybe even amount of bidding people will do with a stage house versus an unstaged house?
Well, first of all, Brian, I would highly recommend that house be staged before it's put on the market, as opposed to after, because then you're faced with a certain dilemma that how do you educate your audience on what you have done as far as price is concerned, because at that point it might not add value, it might not add monetary value at that point to you. However, it will add a way for you to sell the house quicker because it is staged. And you can, if you did it prior to that, then you could put a monetary value on it and up the price, because now you're speaking to your audience after the fact, as opposed to before and going back and forth. So it's very important to make that decision prior to putting the home on the market, because there's a lot of things that you can do to have the value raised on that property. The property's value, as you put it on the market after the fact, could be a little tricky to some people, because some people go in and they see furniture and they say to themselves, well, I don't know if this cost that much that they have raised this price.
Yeah.
So, if you think about it, you want to do something like that prior to.
Right. That makes
But
a lot
it
of sense.
does add value to a home, because no one wants to walk in a home today and have to do work. It's just the whole market has changed when it comes to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there ever a time that you don't necessarily want to stage a house, or is it always good to stage a home when you're trying to sell it?
I think it's always good to stage a home. And like I said, a lot of people can't visualize, and an empty home to some people just means they can't see where things would be appropriate. They would fit appropriate, because people don't know how to visualize. If you think about it, when you walk into a furniture store, you can look at the furnishings and say, oh my God, this would look amazing in my XYZ room. Or this would look, this would be big enough for this room, because they have scaled the furniture for certain rooms.
Yeah, they have it all out. They have it all designed out. So you have a rug, you have lamps, you have the coffee table.
Matched it all up.
Yeah, they've matched it up. They usually have some sort of art that's in there, so you get a really a good idea of it. It isn't just one room full of 1,000 different couches, then one room full of 1,000 different love seats. I just don't see anyone buying that. They want to see it together so they can get an eye.
And they want to make sure it's scaled properly.
Yeah.
You ever go into a house and the furniture is too big for the house, and you go, oh my God, what happened here?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm looking around mine. No.
That lazy boy that doesn't belong in the house.
But you can't get it out because the person who's attached to that lazy boy has a relationship with it. So
Yes, along with the remote, Jennifer.
yes. So sometimes you got that situation going on.
Absolutely.
Or the pets. The pet have, commandeered something and it's
Yes.
their thing now or whatever. Yeah. So you talk about how the real estate industry has changed. Now that you've seen the changes in everything that's been happening now, we have all these talks of recession and impeachment and all this stuff going on. I know you're not a psychic, but what do you think, how do you think that's going to impact the real estate market for you guys there in South Florida for the future, perhaps? Or do you have an idea for that? What are you seeing since you're on the ground?
I don't have a crystal ball and neither does anyone else. A lot of people are talking about, the recession coming, and that's all well and fine. However, as far as the election, that could affect us a lot here, only because we have a lot of people that rely on who's going to take over the house, and especially in my market. So that could have an effect on our market here, whether the wealthy are going to spend, because the thing about the wealth effect is when the stock market is doing well, they love to spend well. and we rely on that, whether it's boats, whether it's yachts, jets, or big, second, third, and fourth homes. Because my market here, and I have to stress about my market because that's the market I'm in, is a huge secondary home market. And not only second, third, fourth, and fifth.
I don't know. Markets like that are big for investors just all around. So that's like one of the reasons we're so excited to get you on the show, because there's investors all over the country that want to invest in Florida because of that, because there's a constant potential at various different levels, B, C, and A properties, to be able to get into investments and to have long-term rentals. And a lot of very high-end clients will do that. You see that even in New York City, the property's owned, but someone's spending $10,000-$20,000 a month, on some of those properties there in New York, and the same as in your area as well.
Yeah, in the Southwest Florida area, which is the Naples area, I don't know if you know Naples very well, but this is one of the wealthiest cities in the country per capita, and captains and titans of industries in America have come to lay their hats down. We have a huge influx of Germans, Canadians, and English that come here and buy secondary homes and vacation homes. I've sold and bought homes where I've seen people that don't show up in the house maybe 2 months out of the year, and the house is closed up, or they have a house manager. We don't have a lot of high rises here. And the ones that we do, the rental income or the return on investment can be very lucrative here. We're a totally different market from the East Coast.
Interesting.
And we're the closest thing that America is going to get to Saint Tropez. With our white sandy beaches, and our soft sand and our very warm water. So we're almost 10 to 15 degrees warmer than any other city around us.
That's interesting. I wouldn't even think that Naples was that kind of an area, but that's really good to know. So if someone's looking to invest in real estate, Naples is actually a really hot market at this point. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, the return can be great. I mean, we just had a home on the market for $48 million, and they bought it and ripped it down, and nothing was wrong with the home. They tore the home down. It had 5 acres of beachfront.
$48 million house. So that was a work of art in itself that they decided to tear down.
It wasn't, I wouldn't say a work of art, but it was a very beautiful, beautiful home inside and out. It was a plantation style home, but gorgeous on the beach. And it was stunning when you walked in, and I have to share with you, it was $88 million when it came on the market.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if it changed, if it traded prior to someone else buying it and then bringing it down to $48 million. And then we had one sell right next door to it for $22 million. That only had 3 acres attached to it.
You just
And
never
it
know.
was on the market for 3 years for the same price and sold for the same price,
Yeah.
$22 million. Yes.
That's incredible. And so you have a real estate course for real estate investors. And do you go over things like that with them? And by the way, Jane's website, just so everybody will know, is thebondbrightgroup.com, BONDBRIGHT group.com, thebondbrightgroup.com. And we'll have that, of course, along with the links to her beautiful IG and all of her other social media. Jane is also a coach. She coaches people. She even does life coaching, and she has a coaching course for real estate investors right on that website. So that's what I'm asking her about now. So tell me a little bit about that coaching course. You go over all of these types of things?
Well, my coaching course is called $1 Million Listing Unlocked. And the reason why we came up with this coaching course is because there were a lot of agents in my inbox on the gram or IG, Instagram, asking the question, how do you break into the high-end market? So once I saw that happening, I thought it was my job and my duty to educate some people or agents and, novice and seasoned also agents about breaking into the high-end market. And first thing I say to them is, you don't break into the market, you grow into the market. You must grow into this market. It takes time to understand your market. It takes time to grow your database. It takes time to brand yourself. So it's not about breaking in, it's about growing into it. You need to show up and show up properly. You have to understand who these people are that you want to cater to. It's just like me now understanding who I had to target for disposable income to create my business of interior design, because not everybody can afford an interior designer.
Yeah.
So when I share with them, agents, that it's very important that you understand the sandbox that you want to play in with these people who are high-end customers. They're accustomed to a service. My business, our business, is a service-oriented business. If you keep that in the front of your mind, that this is a customer service business, you can't do anything but win. So
and I think that's important, because everyone seems to be wanting to go, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. But there are some things that are just service-based business that there's never going to be an app for that.
Oh, no, this is a relationship business.
Right.
There will not be, in this business, I don't think you should text your customer. You should ask your customer how they want to be contacted. And you should ask them which priority works for them, whether it's via phone, via text, or email, because they're all busy. And these people that are high-end people, they're very successful people. So they're used to a certain protocol. And if you don't understand that protocol, how can you service them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I like how you said that.
Yeah, we call them quiet luxurians, because you don't know who you're sitting next to. And it's funny because in the course, I show one of the part of the deck as people that we do know, like a Oprah, like what's his name, Bill Gates, Charlize Theron, or Jay-Z. I show these pictures because these are people we know that are wealthy, that are accustomed to, a high level commitment of service. But what about the people you don't know?
There's people like that walking around. I live in an area like that. I live in Galveston, Texas.
Right.
And I'll go and I'll be like, oh, there's so-and-so, and he's the head of this billion-dollar foundation that happens to be here. You'd have no idea. He's just sitting there shopping in Kroger like everybody else, walking around, and he won't, it's hot here, hot and really humid, and they're not going to not wear their shorts and cargo shorts and things. Yeah. Flip-flops and that. So you really don't know. You've just got to be on pretty much all the time,
Exactly. And I think that's what New York City taught me, how to be on, how to show up properly, how when I walk out my door to make sure I have a perfect lip on, a nice shoe on with a bag to match, or, clothes that speak of success. Because what they don't know is that success begets success. You can't walk out your door looking like you're not a successful person and hope to attract that. Even if that person that you're hoping to attract or target doesn't look successful, you have to be ready and on top of your game. And that's what I teach in my course. It's about landing your first $1 million listing. It's called How to Land Your First $1 Million Listing. But the course itself is Million Dollar Listing Unlocked. You can find that at milliondollarlistingunlocked.com. And that course teaches you how to deal with the customer. So it's pretty much a luxury course that I've packaged for agents to understand how to get in that sandbox and stay.
Yeah.
Bring your own toys.
That's great.
I think it's great because it's oh, sorry. You go ahead, Brian. I'm all
okay. So one of the things is I agree that you want to look like you have success, or at least you want to present yourself in such a way that makes sense for the market you're going after. What is one of the other things that you find that a lot of agents are violating as well that may not be landing that $1 million listing?
Not knowing their market.
Okay.
Not understanding the statistics that come out in front of your face every day when you open up your MLS. It's all right there for you. Pendings, sales, withdrawals. I mean, everything is right there for you, and understanding your market and knowing if you're farming, and farming is when you farm one community and you become the queen or the king of that community, because we have a lot of gated communities here. And again, I'm just going to stress, I'm speaking about my market. You need to know everything there is to know about that community and the lifestyle within that community if you're going to farm it. Myself, I took the approach where I wanted to know everything about Naples. And I grew, like I said, I grew into the luxury market because I started out selling $135,000 condominiums that were torn to shreds because people were losing them and losing their homes. And when I would walk into them, there would be copper pulled out of the wall, stoves moved, sinks torn out. They were really angry. Yeah. But I was able to sell them. I learned how to do short sales, and I was selling a lot of short sales. I learned how to deal with investors that did want a deal. So after, dealing with all of that and understanding my market, I was able to grow.
And this is really good advice for not just real estate investors. If you're an entrepreneur just listening, or you're curious, or you're just here because you know Jane or whatever, this is very good. You need to know your market no matter what you're doing, and you need to show up every day. We deal with a lot of creatives and, of course, telecommute professionals. We're an asset protection company, but Brian and I have spent 10 years growing through the use of virtual teams, virtual professional teams, everything from digital marketing to real estate and asset protection, which is what we do now with Leafy Legal Services. And one of the first things we would talk to people who want to do a business like this, even if it's investing, is, well, you just got to get up and show up every day. You got to get your coffee, you got to put on your makeup, you got to get dressed. The whole myth of working in your pajamas, that sounds great, but it kind of demotivates people. You've got to.
You're absolutely right, Jennifer.
You've got to be at work. And Jane has a great podcast. It's called From Execution to Excellence. And all of these topics are on this podcast. We're going to wrap it up here because we're going off, because I could talk to Jane forever. I would just talk to her forever.
I just want to be clear when I say dress, the part. I'm not saying you have to wear the most expensive clothes.
Right.
You can start out with the basics. The basics always work. Just make sure they look good. Make sure your hair looks good. Your nails are done. Your lipstick is not some crazy neon color matching your nails. I mean, because these people aren't accustomed to that.
Right.
And don't wear the clothes. I say to the ladies, don't wear the clothes that you would wear when you go out to a nightclub. To
Brian. No, just kidding.
Right. Well, I'm also going to say I don't wear makeup or color my nails. I'll just put that in there right now.
I don't want to disrespect anyone or offend anyone. I'm just saying, be appropriately dressed, because you never know who you're going to meet. The grandmother, the sister, the aunt, the girlfriend, the jealous husband, and that goes for men and women.
Well, no, it does. I worked back in the day, a very long time ago, for a collection agency, and I was their head of HR and their trainer. And I trained hundreds of people to get on and to try to help people with their debt. Gotten into debt, either IRS or Kmart or Visa or American Express. It's not a fun job when you're calling people about debt, but you can do it with humanity and kindness to people and help them. You know, a lot of people don't understand that even if they just pay a little bit, even if it's 50 cents, that's all they can because they went through a divorce and the wife ran up their credit card or whatever, you know, things like that happen. As long as they make a due effort, it doesn't have to devastate them. So it's just educating them when they're already upset. But we would get, because it was a huge call center and it was at a military base, Fort Hood, which at the time was the largest installation in the world, we would get a lot of young spouses of military in, and some of them were, you know, just barely turned 18 and they were needing an extra job. So you have a lot of young people. And I'll never forget a woman coming in and she had overalls on that didn't come up, and she just had her bra, and her bra was put together with safety pins, and she had no makeup on, her hair up. And I said, really? And I had to have a talk with her, and she got very offended and upset. I said, but just think about it, you know, from our point of view. How are you going to go out and do debt collection? There's a dress code for a reason. Can you not afford it? And right. I know that was an embarrassing thing, but I'm thinking, I know I had a military spouse, and there's a thing called the loan closet. So at any military base, if you're an Army officer, you go to the loan closet. If you need clothes or a vacuum cleaner or pots or pans, really anything, diapers, whatever. And other families are very generous and they donate it, because young soldiers coming in, they just don't have it. So I said, do you know about the loan closet? And I just counsel her. I said, just do those little things. It'll make you feel better too. Because I know you're not feeling very good about this conversation. You're very angry. Your face is all red. But don't be angry at me. Believe it or not, I'm doing you a favor.
And you're helping her. Yeah.
Yeah. She came back and she got the job. Yeah.
It's constructive criticism. Yeah. And I just want to add one other thing before we leave. Real estate agents, just to what you guys do, they think about making the money all the time, because that's their point of thought process. And they don't think about investing the money into the same thing that they're selling to their customers. And I share with them, don't forget about yourself. Understand that this business creates generational wealth, and it helps you understand, finance also. So, and it gives you financial stability. So, and also creates financial literacy. So it's best that you utilize what you're learning as you're selling your customers for yourself. Because in the long run, all the money that you make, you should reinvest it into property. Because if you see it works for your customers, why shouldn't it work for you?
That is the best soundbite ever. I'm going to use that and think about that over and over. But you're absolutely right. There are so many people who get into the business, even in its ancillary or property management, and then they won't take the leap to go and to get their first rental property, or to be a passive investor, or do that. Thank you for saying that. That was very well stated, and you're absolutely right. Again, everybody, we've been talking to Jane Bond. She is just a real estate agent. She's in luxury property. She also does coaching. She has an incredible podcast, From Execution to Excellence.
Thank you.
We are going to have all of her links on this, and you can see her, go to her at thebondbrightgroup.com, and we'll have all the links for you guys. I want to thank everybody, including you, Jane, for showing up today. And we're on this podcast everywhere, but you're already listening to us. So you're already on iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher or whatever. And just keep on listening. We have other great guests, but today was amazing. In fact, I'm already thinking about how I want Jane to come back. Because we have so many other things that we can talk about, because she's done so much. She is just a one-woman show. Miss Jane Bond, everyone. Thank you again for being on the show, Jane. We really
thank you, Brian and Jennifer. It was my pleasure. I would love to come back. I do have something happening soon. We have a book coming out, so we're excited about that.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
I will definitely let you know, and I'll see you guys again. And thank you for having me on.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right,
bye-bye.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.